Hey guys, in this video we're going through an AI coding project that uses a AI that classifies images. This is going to classify something as plastic or something as metal, like recycled material, right? So I'm going to show you right here. It working. Hold on, let me get it close to the camera. And it said it was plastic. All right, let's run it again. Right? Let's show it the spoon. And it says it was metal. So as you guys can see, this thing already works. So as you guys already know, in the video below, in the video description below, there's a link to this code file. So you will get access to this code file. It'll pop up like this, and you just copy and paste it into Google Colab. Okay, so Google Colab is pretty much this. Let me make sure that I'm already logged in. Yeah, so when you log into Google Colab, you'll see this pop up, and you just create a new notebook, and you'll just copy and paste. Just copy and paste what you got from here. So I recommend copy and pasting this, right? This right here, and it's into its own cell. Click on plus code, and then copy the rest of the code, right? And Control C. Sorry, I'm hitting Control C. If you don't know what I'm doing, I'm just right clicking, hitting copy, or I'm holding Control, pressing C. Hold Control, press V, or I can copy it, whatever. So yeah, so I recommend doing something like this to run the code, and you'll run this one first. When you do run that first, you're gonna see a bunch of this stuff right here. So when you click on this, it's gonna run it, and then you'll have the code. So pretty much, what happens is that, yeah, so we're gonna go over this code line by line. So this video is for people that are watching my AI series, and if you haven't seen the first video of my AI series, I recommend watching video 0 so you understand how this series works. But if you're here just to see a project and just learn how to make something, this is how we're gonna go through it. So I recommend copy pasting the code. After you copy paste the code, we're gonna go over it line by line. But let me explain how the code works step by step. Okay. So right now we're using something called a image classification model. It's an AI model slash machine learning model. Technically, it's more of a machine learning model than an AI model, but we're not going to get too in the weeds with that. So the first step is we download libraries. Downloading the libraries is like downloading a toolbox, right? A bunch of tools that someone else made. We're not going to make the screwdriver from scratch. We're going to just buy a screwdriver and bring it to work on stuff, right? We're not going to make a bowl from scratch. We're going to buy a bowl and use the bowl for whatever we need, right? It's pretty much downloading a bunch of tools that we need that someone else made. To code this, right? Next, we load the image. So we're going to load the image model. We're going to load the image model. So we're not going to make our own AI model from scratch. We're showing the model from scratch. We're going to download a model that's been trained on hundreds and thousands, like almost millions, probably millions actually. It's been trained on a lot of data on images, right? So instead of you training this and fine-tuning this, we're going to get one that's already pre-made, ready to go. So instead of building a car from scratch, we're just going to buy a car, because cars are complicated to build, it takes a while. So we're just going to grab an image model that's already ready to go, right? Then we're going to download a dictionary for translating. What this means is the way that the AI model understands things is via numbers. So the water bottle, right? The water bottle might be the number 34, right? And the spoon might be number 1057. So we just need to get a dictionary that translates these numbers into like the object names that it was trained on, right? Then we create a filtering list, right? So the filtering list is kind of like, it's gonna look at something and it's gonna guess what everything that it could be, but we need that list to filter down to it saying plastic or metal, right? That's pretty much what that is for. Create a function and take a picture from the camera. As you can see, we need to open up my webcam camera and take a picture from it so that we can analyze that picture. Then we create a function for classifying the image, right? It has to do stuff with the image to know what's going on, format it, shows the model of the image. We got to show the model of the image that we just took, right? So pretty much formatting the image is gets the image ready. So kind of like how we get food, we chew on the food and then we swallow it. This is kind of what formatting images is. So we kind of digest the food, prepare the food, right? We cook it first, then we chew it, and then we show it the model, the image. Then the model has a bunch of things that it thinks that it is. So we grab the 5 things that the model thinks is actually what it's looking at. Check the word list. Is this in the word list? If it is, plastic or metal, and then we create a start button for the code. Okay, so that's pretty much the basic walkthrough of looking at the code first. So Now looking at the code, we're gonna see that this is the part I was saying that involves downloading all these tools, right? So we're downloading all these tools, which is this first step, download the libraries, right? Because we're gonna need all of these, right? Next, we're gonna do a try except. So if we're gonna try this, if that doesn't work, then we do this. So essentially, this line of code is downloading the pre-trained model. So the model that already is trained on a bunch of images, like from like peanut butter to controllers to yo-yos to grapes, like it's been trained on everything, or a lot of different things. We just download that to use locally. So they're making our own. Eval is just pretty much the model is in the mode of just answering questions, right? This sets it into answering question mode. That's what that means. And then if it didn't work, you would get a bunch of errors, and it will print out the errors, letting you know that something's wrong. If you saw this printed, you would know something's wrong. Okay. So from there, next we have the labels. So this part is the previous one was load the image model. Now it's download the dictionaries for translating, right? So those numbers, like I said, like the model understands numbers, and when it sees something, it's like, oh, that's number 157. So to translate those numbers into things that we understand, like 157 means peanut butter box or whatever, peanut butter box. That's what this is. So these lines of code is downloading that, right? And if it can't, it throws an error. So this is a try. So we tried this. So we tried downloading the dictionary. It's gonna be a JSON file, and yeah, cool. The next step is, like I said, is creating those two lists. So these two lists that we talk about, it creates a list for filtering. So this is gonna be the filtering list. So if it sees something, so like these, we can add more, but we're just grabbing this. So if it sees something plastic, it's probably gonna be like, oh, water bottle, cup, mouse, keyboard. It's gonna say all these words, and we just need it to understand that all these things are plastic, right? The model itself is not trained on knowing plastic or metal, because the use case I have is for a recycling material identification model, right? So if we were to make a model for, like, let's say we worked at a factory for recycling, right, or a garbage disposal place, they would want something like this, or they probably already have something like this built into their system for their conveyor belt, right? So to get our use case, or our business use case, which is I want to recognize if something is plastic or metal, we need to get this list first, and then we narrow it down. So this is going to help us narrow down something is plastic, right? Say for metal, we have all these things that the model will probably say when it sees something, and then we know that, okay, if it says something like this, it's probably going to be metal, right? So it's pretty much like, oh, if this object that it mentioned is in this list, it's plastic. If the object it mentions is in this, it's probably metal, right? So that's what those lists are used for filtering down. Kind of like when you cook some pasta and you grab like oh wow, let me not, actually that's a really bad example. I think I explained it pretty good. We're gonna move on. I'm not gonna get too crazy. I love cooking analogies for some reason, but it is what it is. Okay, cool. Now, this is the function, right? This is the function, aka the ability we're giving the code to open up my web camera, right? Like the camera that's on my PC, and then take a picture right there, right? So all of this code is for doing that, right? All of this code is for doing that. And you'll see something called JavaScript, and you'll see something like it says JavaScript. The reason it's using JavaScript is because our webcams, since I'm using Google Colab to run this, this is on a website, right? So for the code to access my camera through the website, it has to go through JavaScript, because majority of websites are made using JavaScript, which is a coding language. So we need to access this via JavaScript. So long story short, all this code is just for taking a picture. Okay, just open up your camera and take a picture, right? And you saw earlier, if you have to click on the video streaming itself, and then that takes a picture, and you press any key on your keyboard, and then that would, hold on. Once you click on the video, it's gonna focus on that, and then when you press any key, it'll take a picture of whatever is in that frame at the moment, right? So that's pretty much what it is. Because all of this is Python code. This is JavaScript code. Okay, all this await new this is all JavaScript code. So for us to run JavaScript code within Python, this is what this does. So just so you know, all of this here is JavaScript. Yeah. And display JavaScript, data eval, take picture. So this is the take picture function. And yeah, return binary, which is zeros and ones. Yep. So cool. That's what that is. All right, moving on. So now we're going to create a function to pretty much feed the image to the model now and classify it, right? So if not model, print model. So pretty much this is for if the model's not loaded, right? So if the model's didn't download properly, didn't load properly, it's gonna throw an error. Cool. So this will grab the image that we just took a picture of, right? That's what that does. Then we process the image. We have to prepare the image before the AI sees it, right? So we have to, so resizing makes it a certain size, right? Because most models, image models, when they're trained on seeing images at a particular size. So whenever you show it a new image, you need to resize that picture back down to 56. So if the image is bigger than this, it becomes down to this size. And if the image is smaller than this, it'll be stretched out to fit this size, okay? Center crop, that's another thing about the focus of it. To tensor, to turn into the shape that the AI understands or the type of data the AI understands, which is tensors. Kind of like how we read words and understand things. A tensor is how the AI kind of understands what's going on. It's like its own language. And normalizing, the best way to explain normalization is normalization is pretty much when you're comparing two different variables and you need them to be on the same scale. What that means is if I'm comparing weight to height, right? The tallest person probably going to be around 7 feet, 8 feet. But weight goes into like 500, 400. So if you're comparing height to weight is going to be really big numbers. Like from like 1 pound to like 500 pounds. And then for height though, you go from like 0 feet tall, like 1 feet tall to like 8 feet tall, right? The number 8 is way smaller than the number like 500, but 8 feet tall is a really big deal for height, and 500 is a big deal for weight. So you want to like normalize it so that way when you're comparing these things, so it's kind of like turning the height into a 1 to 10, right? So how tall are you 1 to 10? I'm like a 10, and a 10 would mean you're 8 feet tall. And if you say how heavy are you? From like 1 to 10, probably like a 10. That means you're 500 pounds, right? So that 10 value is the highest of each of the categories. That's kind of what normalization pretty much is, right? In a nutshell. And we need to do that so the model can understand what's going on better. That's confusing. Right? So, this is just processing the image. So we're creating the pre-processing, like we're creating the guidelines for it. Like, okay, how are we gonna pre-process this? Then we apply the pre-processing to the image, which means we do all these things to the image, right? Transform it pretty much. We chop it up, make it bigger, make it smaller, change the lighting, all that kind of jazz. Normalize it, right? Squeeze. This is something that you just have to do when you're showing a model an image. Got squeeze, or sorry, unsqueeze it, my bad. Now, this right here is pretty much showing the model now the image, right? This right here is grabbing the top 5 predictions. So the model's going to spit out 1,000 predictions, if not more, maybe less, or just what it thinks it is. Oh, is that a bottle? Is that I can't say that. Is that like a flashlight? Whatever. But we was grabbing the top 5, and we know it's top 5 because the model will have a certain percentage of how confident it thinks that thing is the thing. So when it sees the water bottle, it's like, oh, most likely it's like a 90% chance it thinks it's a water bottle, right? But maybe 10% chance it thinks it's a spoon or plastic spoon, right? That's kind of like how that goes. Probabilities, we turn pretty much, like I said, the probabilities of how confident it is something is a particular thing. Decode predictions. Yeah, this is just, the predictions are in a certain format of text. We're just making it into plain English. Sorry about that. Okay, Adobe, thank you so much. This just iterates. This just kind of goes through the top 5 guesses in that list we have. And then check our keyword. Yes, and this is the part of the code that tries to figure out if something is plastic or not, right? So if it's in that list, if the AI says anything that's in the list of plastic, it'll spit out plastic. Same thing for the metal, right? And if it doesn't see anything, it prints out like, I don't know what you're talking about, right? And then this code right here, all this code is pretty much creates the start button for our code. So when we run the code, this is the part that triggers the whole thing above it, right? This just creates a start button. Okay, if you ever notice a lot of like apps, like if you go to like W3 Schools, right? And you notice how like it's like this button here. This run button is kind of like what we just created essentially. Okay, so when we're running code, all right, and that's pretty much the whole code in a nutshell. So that's how it works essentially. If you want me to go in greater detail, comment below. But I will make a video down the line going in super deep detail about how this works. But it's pretty much how image classification models work, right? Yeah. So let me run this again so you guys can just see how it works, and then yeah. Run this again. I want to try something else. I will show it this thing right here. And wait a second. Click. Plastic. That's it for this video, you guys. If you want to learn about AI, if you want me to teach AI, if you want me to build AI products for you, AI automations, if you want to ask AI questions, anything involving AI, please reach out to me via the links below in the video description. I appreciate you guys so much. Peace.